So let's go ahead and move to the Joel Embiid topic. Joel Embiid, he's been in the sports headlines making waves, right? It hasn't been a very positive start to the season for Embiid. He announced that he will never play another back-to-back game for his entire career. People, including myself, took issue with that. I do think that he should have spoken or thought at least more carefully about communicating that and just how he was going to reveal this to fans. There was a reporter who wrote an article where I don't know why he did this, but he essentially set the stage for just a really bad interaction with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid wound up shoving him. Initially, it was reported that he punched this reporter. That did not happen. They exaggerated the case, of course. But essentially, this reporter decided to write about Joel Embiid's brother who passed away and his son. And I think that was in poor taste. The article that he was talking about was just Joel Embiid's availability. His availability, his past availability, and none of this really, made any sense to bring up his family members. So that reporter was completely out of line, and Joel Embiid took great offense to this, and rightfully so, and he shoved him. Joel Embiid also, he made some comments about the criticism that he's received about his availability. And I want you guys to listen to this soundbite that I have, and then we'll all react to it together.
Well, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. You are a competitor. How difficult is this for you to sit out these early games?
Extremely difficult. I think everybody that knows me knows that. Okay, I would love to be out there every single game. It's just unfortunate that some of them are not as lucky as others to be part of every single game. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's not for the lack of trying. It's tough. Like I said, mentally, you can play, but still trying to get yourself mentally right to push. But like I said, everything is trending the right way.
And when was it decided between the Olympics and today that you would be taking this approach and missing these games to start the season?
It was never decided. Like I said, everybody has been on the same page. If your body doesn't react well, and if your body tells you one thing, and I've done it. From what I can tell you, I've broken my face twice. I came back early with the risk of losing my vision. Had broken fingers. I still came back. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, when I see people saying he doesn't want to play, I've been way too much. I've done way too much, for this city, and putting myself at risk, for people to be saying that. So I do think it's bullshit. Like that dude, he's not here. Marcus, whatever his name is. I've done way too much for this fucking city to be treated like this. So done way too fucking much. But like I said, I wish I was as lucky as other ones, but that doesn't mean that I'm not trying and I'm not doing whatever it takes to be out there, which I'm gonna be here pretty soon.
I personally think that Joel Embiid is a supremely talented big. He was my favorite center in the league for the past several seasons. I started to question Embiid when he threw Ben Simmons, his teammate at the time, under the bus after the 2021 postseason ended in an ugly loss to the Atlanta Hawks. Then in 2022, he was demanding MVP openly and publicly, which rubbed me the wrong way personally. Then the last postseason, Embiid was playing dirty against the Knicks, and I didn't like his behavior, but I did appreciate the fact that he fought to get out there on the floor and play for his team. And every postseason, he seems to be injured with something. You know, in 2022, he basically just flamed out against Boston. It was really embarrassing. Him and James Harden together, just super disastrous in the postseason. And I get it. People will tell me that Joel Embiid's stats were not that, that they were good, that he played well. I mean, I would disagree about 2022. He was an MVP that year and had the biggest fall off in the postseason in all of NBA history, from averaging 33 points to then 23 in the postseason. That's definitely not something that's going to carry that team to wins, especially when you have somebody like James Harden on your team. But I do want to shout out Embiid for, doing what he can do and trying his best to be available to play games. He's been injured. He has played through injury. And it's been really hard for him. It's been really hard on his body. He has bad knees. He had cerebral palsy. And I'm just not sure how he was able to muster the wherewithal to play through those things. He talked about it. Broken hands and fingers, face is broken. So shout out to Embiid for thugging it out in many instances to be available. I think he's getting a lot of flack for his availability as it pertains to his injuries. I'm okay with criticizing Embiid for what he does on the court if he showed up to play. People want to say, well, he wasn't healthy. Okay, well then when can we expect to hold Embiid accountable for when he's playing? Because it can't be that every single time he's always injured. If you showed up to play, if you laced up your shoes, if you put your jersey on and you're on the court, I'm holding you accountable to your performance, good or bad, because we'll praise Embiid because he went out there and dropped 50 when he was injured, but we won't criticize him when he doesn't show up in those games or when he is, turning the ball over with abandon. So I just want to level the playing field. I don't want to move the goalposts for Embiid, and I don't want to make excuses for Embiid that I wouldn't make for other players. If you are playing, then you are accountable. If you're injured, then you're injured. It's simple. Every postseason, Joel Embiid is injured, like I said. If the team can't get out of the second round, as a result of his injuries, then he's not doing anyone a favor by playing injured. Now, granted, at least they've been a playoff team. But Joel Embiid reminds me of a woman that I used to manage a long time ago. She never wanted to actually call out from work when she was sick. She always worked very hard. She would come in sick, but she couldn't really perform at a high level. She would be oohing and eyeing, making all these noises next to her coworkers who were also trying to concentrate and work. She was disrupting everyone else next to her, practically making a scene because she was sick and in pain. It slowed us down as a team, and she would always wind up going home early anyway. She told me she needed the money, and she couldn't afford to call out when I asked her about this. And, she would work as long as she could and potentially go home early. So yeah, she would leave an hour or two early so she wouldn't lose much money, but she wasn't productive and she wasn't expected to perform her best. Every time she did this, it hurt the team. Every time. I had to spend calories trying to figure out what's wrong. Well, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you going to make it? People don't want to do that. I couldn't really hold her accountable to her performance, even though she was working. It hurts the team and it can be a distraction. Joel Embiid showing up while injured, it isn't helping the team from what I can see. It just shows his willingness to be available. He also hurts himself in the long run because if he can't play, work on a plan to get healthy. I'm not sure why he's listening so much to the pressure from the media about availability. No one else is. Nobody else gives a rat's ass. Let's talk about some of the reasons that Embiid hasn't been available. I think that he's being harshly judged and when he's truly injured. Because we have heard strange reports during critical times about Joel Embiid, not just his meniscus tears and knee issues, but just like weird random stuff. I believe Embiid's injuries, like I would never say that he's lying, but some of his injuries, they seem to be more about the space in between his ears. Stomach aches seem to appear during crucial stages of games and playoff series. I believe that Embiid should consider sports psychology as a viable option. I think many players need mental health treatment due to the pressure from the media. From what I saw, Embiid tanked in the Olympics as well. He found a way to get himself relieved from the pressure of the moment by playing like shit. Contrast Embiid's performance with the performance of Steph Curry. When we go back to that 2021 series against the Hawks, yes, Embiid's stats looked good, right? People always point out Embiid's stats to me. In games 6 and 7 against the Hawks, who, by the way, have not been back to the playoffs since this run, Embiid had a disastrous 8 turnovers in game 6 and game 7. Both games, he had 8 turnovers apiece. In 2022 against Boston, the year he won MVP, like I said, he had that huge drop-offs in points. As an MVP, he averaged over 33 points per game during the regular season. Then he dropped down all the way to 23 points in the playoffs. Largest drop-off in NBA history, and I believe they were a first-round knockout. Perhaps they got to the second round, but I think they got booted in the first round. To say that there's no issue with Joel Embiid in the postseason, I think that it's an oversight. We overlook it because we don't expect the 76ers to truly contend anyway. They can make the playoffs, but they've been a first or a second round knockout, unable to reach the conference finals. What do they need to get out of the second round? I don't think that they needed another injury-prone player such as Paul George. I don't think that that was going to solve it. And look, I get back in 2021, Ben Simmons, he didn't want to shoot the ball, right? He's another player that's heavily criticized for his injuries. He went and got back surgery. I do think that Ben Simmons is more like a welfare case. Okay? For the longest time, there was nothing that anyone could find wrong with his back. And all of a sudden, he gets 2 back surgeries. And look, I'm not saying that he's not truly injured. I'm not saying that he didn't, in fact, have these surgeries. I'm not saying that he doesn't have a back issue. But if you are refusing to play when you're healthy, rolling around in LA, partying it up, going to Met Galas when you're healthy and you're never on the court, your back is probably going to get stiff when you do finally spring into action. People are going to criticize you and they're going to say that you're crying wolf when you refused to play when you were healthy. We all watched him lifeless in that practice when he was forced to show up to the 76ers camp at the start of the 2022 season. Ben Simmons is like a case study. He's the perfect case study, actually. The media lobbied hard for him to get Rookie of the Year, for that Rookie of the Year selection when Donovan Mitchell was better. He had the better stats and he was leading a title contender. He was robbed of Rookie of the Year by someone who's literally pretending to be a basketball player. That Rookie of the Year was stolen from Donovan Mitchell. Do you guys see the patterns? Bronny stole Quincy Oliveri's contract. No problem, right? No problem. LeBron stole Steph Curry's Olympic MVP. No problem, right? Well, if we live in the no problem generation, then we live in a fictional world, kind of like a movie set. A basketball court is not a goddamn movie set. We don't get to make up facts. If you're making up facts to support a point of view, then you're a card-holding member of the no problem generation. There's no problem if Bronny steals Quincy's contract, etc. We can just make up the facts to fit the script, right? We can just put on a basketball costume and send Bronny and Ben Simmons into a basketball movie. But anyway, back to Embiid. I don't agree with the NBA's decision to suspend him for 3 games. He wasn't going to be available or play those games anyway, so I'm wondering if the suspension kicks in when he's actually available for games or if it will count for the games that he was injured for anyway. I am curious about that, but I think that the NBA should have let go of the shove. I get it. They need to protect their brand and they need to stand with, a zero tolerance policy. So I'm glad that there was nothing more than 3 games. And I mean, Embiid will live with the 3 games, whether it's, during his time of injury that he's going to be out for, or whether it will be for when he's back from injury. But I am curious to see what you guys have to say. I'll read some comments and then I'll go ahead and put the phone line back up and we'll take one more phone call to close out the night. Let's see. What do we have here? I know I missed a lot of comments. Sorry, guys. He wants to be an Instagram model instead of playing basketball. Ben Simmons or Bronny? I'm going to go with Ben Simmons on that one. He came back early trying to placate the media and fans over ducking Jokic and injured himself for the season. He's not like the past players, but compared to players today, he has heart. I agree with you. I think that Joel Embiid does have heart. And I think that, I think he has poor communication when he's communicating with the media. I think he messed up by telling us that he wasn't going to play in back-to-backs. I think that he could have made that decision sort of privately with the team, and they could have finessed that much differently, because now it's making him sound like, he doesn't want to play, and that's just not true. We all know that Joel Embiid wants to play. I am of the opinion that if you are injured and you can't play, that you should be out of the league. I know that that's a really harsh opinion. Most people will not agree with me about that, but I believe that if you can't play 80% of the season, that you need to retire. And, someone asked me, well, would you retire that player in the first season? Here's the thing. When you're injured at work, like I'm sure that we all have day jobs. Some of you guys are in business for yourselves, but for those who work, corporate jobs, or, they go into work, they have a boss, there's certain protections, right? If you're ill, you're out sick for longer than the amount of sick time that you're allotted, what your job is going to ask you to do is to take something called a leave of absence. Okay. And typically a leave of absence provides you protection. It provides you a layer of protection where your job is protected, but that's only for a certain amount of time. So I would call for the NBA to do something like that. If you are out and you're out for X amount of games, like in baseball, I believe that if you report an injury, they force you to actually sit out more games. So if you can't play one game, they make you sit out the next game or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the rule is, but they want players to have, to not get injured. They want to make sure that players are okay to play. And I just think that the NBA needs to figure out how to have more participation from players or how to free up teams and organizations of deadweight contracts that they're housing because players are sort of just stealing money for several years. There's got to be a way or a clause that can be created and put into contracts that just provide protections for both parties, because I'm not seeing how it's sustainable for Joel Embiid to be a part-time player and the 76ers to have a title run. If anybody else sees the path for them to win, if he's playing 40 to 50 games every season for the rest of his career, how is that conducive to winning? I just don't know. I don't see it. I don't see the path for them to have a serious title run. Not sure what he was doing at the Olympics to begin with. Then he chose to ride the coattails to the mighty gold. I agree. I did not like that. I felt like Joel Embiid went to the Olympics because he knows he's not going to win a title, and he wanted to have something. He wanted to have a gold medal, and I don't blame him for that. They need to keep the media out of the locker rooms. I agree with that. I'm here for that. Marcus Hayes was out of line. Joel shouldn't have been suspended for 3 games. I agree with you, but I know that some sort of punishment had to come down. Poor conditioning results in injury. It's probably true. Finished a playoff game with a broken John Stockton played with a broken leg in the Olympics. This is what people mean when old players were cut from a different cloth. Absolutely. And I mean, I think also a lot of people go to a place where players are making all this money. It's not my job to sit here and pocket watch, but from a fan's perspective, and, I think that a lot of people feel the same way. We want to see players out there on the floor. And fine, if someone who can't show up for 80% of games, if you're going to allow them on your team, how can you make up for that lack of time and attendance? Can you bring 2 players up from the G League that, are crushing it, that could be the next up, that can get developed? I don't know, but something needs to change. Something needs to change. But I guarantee if something was written up in the CBA to require and demand participation, we're going to see guys out on the floor more. We're not going to see all of this load management. Embiid is good, but just not good enough. Yeah, too much paid not to play. I mean, organizations are making a ton of money. The NBA is making money hand over fist. I'm fine with the players making money because in a free market, someone like Steph Curry is making $500 million. So I get it. These are the largest contracts that we've seen in NBA history, but it's still not proportionate to what the owners are making. It's just not. And, players today, they're still under their thumb. They're still under the organization's thumb. They're still the workers and not the owner. They're still paycheck slaves. They just have golden handcuffs. I was working at a job where, I was making quite a bit of money. I called it, I said that I was in golden handcuffs. I'm tied to this job. I don't particularly love it, but I'm making so much money that I can't leave. And that's sort of how the NBA players, that's the situation that they're in. They're making so much money that they don't want to stop making it. So they're going to do whatever they can to extend their careers. And it's tough because can you blame somebody for wanting to make another 50 or 70 million because they can? It's a catch-22 because we want honor, we want, some dignity in this game, but people literally, they have to sell their soul for it. For the love of the game is not something that we're seeing as much anymore. But I don't think that the media and fans need to be so hard on Joel Embiid. He's not one of those guys that are trying to, work the system. He's not Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is working the system. He's a welfare recipient. Joel Embiid is somebody who's injury prone. And yes, there's a debate as to, should he be playing or not? Should he hang it up and retire? Or, should he figure out how to get himself healthy? And maybe this is the plan, playing part-time. It's not for me to decide if he should have part-time money, but if that's what's going to help organizations win, if you want to be a part-time player, we'll pay you part-time as well so that we can make sure that our ball club is in a good state. So that the state of the union is good. So that we can have a playoff run. Let's see. What do you guys think? Let's see. It seems like you guys are arguing about LeBron in the chat. Is that you, young disciple? Are you arguing LeBron? Coach Marcus, LeBron fans will always point to what happened to someone else. Kareem and Magic lost to my 76ers in 1993 and the Pistons in 1989. Neither Magic nor Kareem have ever claimed to be the best ever. Okay. Here's an on-topic comment. I love it. Ben Simmons might as well be a WNBA player. WNBA players are working harder than Ben. I don't know if I want him there either. I don't want him convincing those ladies to sit out. I like the product that they're delivering. They shoot the ball. They're not afraid. Hi, Kitty. Shout out to you. Capricorns are the real goats. You guys, Capricorns, it's an earth sign, and you guys are I find that you guys are really, really good at your jobs. So whatever job you have, you tend to become an expert very quickly in your role. Diabolical whistle insults the integrity of the NBA. I agree. It's just shameful. Okay, guys. We have time for one more call. I'll throw the phone number up. Call in. And then we'll close out. All righty. Kelly, talk to me nice.
Oh, I can barely hear you, but hey, Miss Dom.
Oh, can you hear me better
Kelly.
now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Wonderful. How's it going, Kelly? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How's your night going?
It's going. I'm just grateful to be here with you guys.
But anyways, this is an interesting topic because, there's so much to talk about with Joel Embiid, so I'll try to keep it brief. that's all right with you.
Oh yeah, you do your thing, Kelly. Cook.
Oh, all right, thanks. So just giving a brief history of Joel, before 2019, Al Horford was described as the Joel Embiid stopper. I don't know if I go that far, but did he do a good job on Joel Embiid? Yes, I do think so.
Who did a good
And then
job on Joel
2019,
Embiid?
you go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, who did a good job on Joel Embiid? I missed that part.
Al Horford for a few years in the playoffs with
Yeah.
Boston. Remember those years?
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, not saying he's a stopper because I'm not gonna go that far. I don't think anybody's a stopper, especially in an offensive-oriented league. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Absolutely.
So, and then 2019 comes around. He gets Jimmy Butler, with Ben Simmons and Tobias and Joel. And they barely lose that Game 7 by quite, miraculous shot, right? So,
Right.
although it was at the buzzer, he still lost, right? So that also counts against him of not making conference finals, And then, 2020 comes around, right? And, that's a forgettable year. Fast forward to 2021, is the famous Ben Simmons team, throwing Ben Simmons on the bus, like you said. And then 2022, he had the face injury. I don't know if you remember. He was wearing the mask against the Heat that year.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll give him that. He had the face injury, and he had Harden and a young Tyrese Maxey, right? So I can be understanding about that one, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't. Me personally, I wasn't understanding about it.
You don't feel for the guy in his face injury,
I feel for any player that's out on the floor while they're injured, but we're talking about 2022 with James Harden. It was just really, really bad. They played so poorly. If you can't, like, to show up like that, I would have rathered he sat. I would have. I don't, if you can't even give 50% of your best, then I don't want you on the floor. Sometimes it's addition by subtraction.
For sure.
He turned over the ball a lot. I think he had 5 turnovers. He was averaging, I think, 4 to 5 turnovers per game in that series against Boston.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the numbers on that series, but I do feel for the guy. Like I'm not an Embiid fan, like not even close. Like that's another topic that I'll get to in a
What
bit.
I
But
feel
let's like,
bad about for Embiid is that he really can't play. That's what I feel bad about. I feel bad that he's so talented and he's not able to give more to the game, that he's not able to give more of himself to the game and be available and play 82 games or even commit to 65 games or 55 games. We really don't know how many games he's going to be available for. And it doesn't seem like many. It seems like he's going to be a part-time player. And I feel bad that he's in that position, absolutely. But I don't feel bad about the performances that you showed up for that you fell short in.
yeah, I hear you. It's to each their own, but yeah, definitely. Like you're right about that. That you don't know how many games he's gonna play, right? Whether it's injuries or stomach aches, like you're saying, it's hard to be paying. First of all, be paying that guy that kind of money, but you just don't know whether this guy's gonna make it to the postseason.
Right. It's tough. I think that I think Joel Embiid, he's at a crossroads. He's feeling very unappreciated by Philly. He's put his body on the line for the city. There were people that felt like, why would he say that? Why would he say all that I've done for the city when he never won a title, never made it out of the second round? I'm not quite going there because he didn't mean it in the vein of what he's accomplished for the city. He's meant it as, hey, I'm willing to put my body, and my vision, my eyesight on the line for you guys. And that was touching for me. For me, that pulled at my heartstrings a bit because when you're willing to do anything to play a game that you love and be out on the floor, it's just reminds me a little bit of the NFL and how guys really wear,
Mm-hmm.
getting out on the field as a badge of honor if they're injured. They want to play through that. Whereas the NBA players, Joel Embiid, I think that although he's injury prone, he's just mentally, he's tougher than some of these other guys that are getting out there.
Yeah, for sure. You bring up a good point about his comments about the Philly fans. As they say in the media that Philly is a tough place to say. That's just one way of putting it. They're
Mhm.
they're unforgiving. And he is not AI. AI put it all out there. AI was 6 feet and was achieving far more with a lot less.
He
You know what I'm
did.
saying?
Allen Iverson achieved more, but he sat out games and he didn't go to practice and stuff like that. I mean, he wasn't always the pillar of success and the pillar of, what being the best example of an NBA player was, in my opinion. And even the way that he went out of the league, I felt like his legacy was almost tarnished in a way. And I think a lot of people make that comparison of Joel Embiid to Allen Iverson, and they're just two different players, two different positions. Joel Embiid is like weighs damn near as much as Shaq and is, playing, in that guard sort of role, playing the perimeter. He does
Yeah.
it all on the court, and it's hard for me. I don't like comparing him to past 76ers greats. He hasn't been to the finals. He's trying to figure out what the path is going to be for him to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, at least, right? The goal for me is to see Embiid get out of the second round. But I think that his time with Philly is going to end because I think he's going to want to trade. I think he's going to want to be traded to a team that might appreciate him more. And he's going to want to be in a market that is just a little bit more kinder in the media. I think he
I
feels
could see
really
that very well happening.
disrespected by the
Mhm.
media in Philly and the fans.
Yeah, I could very well see him, wanting out and just, feeling like he wants to be appreciated somewhere else, right? And it might be a team too. Like this is kind of a knock about him, but he might want to go to a stacked team, maybe create a super team somewhere because we just saw it with jumping on, Team USA for gold, right?
Yeah,
He knew USA had the best chance at gold, so why not jump on, right?
I agree. Why not? He should just go jump on a super team. He'd have not that much work to do. He's already won MVP. He already has an Olympic gold medal. He's played, a few years already. He's got stats. So go out there and win a title, Embiid. Put yourself on a team that's ready to win. Imagine Embiid in Minnesota. Please.
Oh, I know.
They're a
That'd be
lock for the
interesting.
title, right? There's no question.
That is interesting. As much as we're talking about Embiid, let's not get it twisted. Let's give him, some praise. Like you said, he's on the perimeter. He has a pretty good mid-range shot. I can't lie. He's got a good shot for a guy his size. A lot of guys can't shoot the way he does
Mm-hmm.
at his weight and size. So he's a pretty talented player. Let's give him his credit for
Yeah.
that. But at the same time, 2023 against Boston, we're gonna hold that against him, right? And especially after
Absolutely.
winning MVP, especially when many like myself feel that Jokic should have had that one in 2023. And to be fair, I think Joel Embiid was on his way to winning the MVP in 2024 this past season, but then he got hurt in January, right? And then he came back to play against the Knicks and so forth.
Yeah.
So
It's really
he's a good player.
unfortunate what
You go
happened
ahead.
to him. Henry Potts says, but he also needs to do a much better job of taking care of his body so he can be more dependable for his team and fans. No excuses for Embiid. I do think that he needs to take care of his body, but it's hard to take care of your body when you're injured and you're trying to rush back and play. So, I give Embiid credit where it's due, but I also am going to criticize him where he needs to be criticized. And there's things that he could do better. There's always a better if for every person in every situation. So, I think Embiid could be handling himself a little bit better during this time. And I think that he needs to get some media training similar to other players in the NBA. He just doesn't know how to communicate, and his messages don't come across the way that I think that he intends them to. So, Kelly, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate you and your comments. Great call.
Oh, thanks for having me. I forgot to say that, but yeah, thank you for having me, and keep up the good work.
Awesome.
Might want to
Thank
fix
you.
the new white mic a little bit. It's hard to hear. Just saying.
Oh, you can't hear me very well?
I have it turned up, but I heard enough. I just had to max the volume as much as I could.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but thank you so
Oh, no
much.
worries. I hope I didn't speak while you were reading the chat or something. So hopefully the mic didn't make that confusion.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate you. And yeah, you have a good night. Okay. You call me
No
anytime.
problem. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty.
All right, you have a good rest of the show and night.
All right. You too. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. I'm going to read some more comments and then we'll go ahead and close out. Tears of laughter watching him flop around, blame teammates, get coaches fired, and walk off the court early, maybe. You guys are just diabolical in the chat with this LeBron stuff. Oh my gosh. Christian Woods, thank you so much for the super chat. Love your show, and I wish I can catch the live more often. Oh my gosh, I need to kind of figure out a set time to be going live. So it's not your fault, Christian. I've been a little bit random with with going live, and hopefully I can get a firm day and time. Okay, guys, it's a wrap. I mean, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for everything. Great commentary, great engagement in the chat. Shout out to all the moderators, T-Bert, Chirac, Maybach, all you guys just hold me down, and I really appreciate it. So if you get a chance, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. All of these things go a long way to helping the channel grow and expand, and just keeps me able to come and provide more content. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, more to come soon. Thank you for everything. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Alrighty. Have a good one.